Alright, so I'm already one or two steps in. I've removed the glove box. When you open it, you pull aside this flap. There's two screws here. There's two screws right here. You remove that, take the glove box out. To make this easier, you're going to want to remove a lot of the stuff down here because you're going to be doing lots of removal of the screws. So pull back your covers and your carpet. This side piece.
Make sure you remove this side piece and then finish pulling the carpet back all the way. Then you'll be able to see the ECU plates.
Next, you're going to want to remove the ECU, which is covered up by this plate. Mine was already removed from some previous time, but there's studs that stick out. There, and then there's two on top.
Just remove the nuts from those studs and then pull back the ECU plate. Then you'll be able to see the ECU and the TCU bolts into the back side of it. Those are rather difficult to remove.
Alright, I removed the plate. The ECU was incredibly difficult to get to. I actually had to remove the plate and then unplug the ECU. This is the transmission control unit. Simple as just
unplugging these two connections and removing the computer.
Alright, I removed this beam, and then there's this wire that's attached to it. You just take a pair of pliers and kind of compress that down a little bit, and it'll pull right out. Now we're going to go underneath here. See, now that shield's gone, if you come underneath here, you can see these two circular things. Those are where your blowers are, the cage blowers. That's our goal is to remove these because the motor is in between them. I'm going to remove the caps covering these two holes, and then the two bolts that are in these two holes. And you'll be able to slightly move the entire dash back. Be careful not to move it too much and crack it. You want to remove a nut here, and one nut underneath. That will actually be all that's holding this in. From there you can actually start to wiggle it out. Be careful not to crack the dash. Right, in the process of wiggling out, you'll see that there is a metal bar connected up here. If you remove that screw, it becomes much easier to wiggle it out, and I've got it down here already. Once you have it down here, you're going to want to come over here, and then there's these three plugs you're going to want to undo because that's what powers the entire blower assembly. Once you have those three loose, just wiggle it. I had to kind of flip it all the way upside down actually, and it'll come out. This is what it looks like. Let's go take it to the bench, take it apart. A little bit is coming out of there, but that's really about it. Alright, this is the entire blower assembly. To remove the resistor, that's held in by a clip, and you come over here and it's just two Phillips heads, and pull it out really easily. Alright, now that you've got the blower motor resistor off, you're going to want to spin around. You'll take this piece off of the top. It's held on by, it looks like, 4 screws and then one clip. The clips look like this. And then you want to take a look at the entire unit. You have a screw here, here. They become here, and then there's one more over here that I don't see right now. And then there's numerous clips that you take off. And then there's one other piece, looks like this. 2 screws here to take it off. Make sure you take these off also. And then a little bit of finagling, you get it apart. Now I'm going to look at this a little bit more, but it looks like just these 2 screws here, and then unroute this wire and you'll be able to remove this. Alright, local AutoZone only offered the motor, and you had to splice in the wires and reuse your wheels. I was able to find the entire assembly on Amazon for slightly less, and I bought a new resistor as well. They both have the same fit plugs and everything, so you go ahead and just reassemble them as they were when I took them apart. Guys, just a quick bit of advice here. For this particular one, this bracket came in and it was a little bit off, too big. There's these pegs that stick up here, and then a hole for the bolt, and then a hole for the bolt, and there's a peg on this side, but they wouldn't fit, and I didn't want to re-drill a hole in this small bracket here, so I just took a utility knife and then a pair of pliers and snapped off the little peg. Got this side started. This one had to kind of go in on an angle, but they're in tight. This is straight. So I'm going to continue assembling based on me putting that in, trying to have to force it. Alright, I've got these routed. This wire tucks down, goes underneath a little clip there, and comes out through here, and then you just kind of push this down through there. It's important you make them correct, because air does flow through here on the bottom. There's a blend door, or I don't know, airflow control door, and if your wire is not all the way in, then the door won't close correctly. So we got that routed. Now we're going to put this back on just like this. Oops, sorry. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in and then put this back on. When you're putting this together, before you put the screws on, got to remember that on the side here, these linkages have to go together in a certain way, otherwise you'll have to take it back apart. I tried undoing these and forcing it when it was all screwed together. It did not work. Take it back apart. So this blend door has to go on top of this peg here, and the same thing with this one here. So I don't have any mounts for my camera today, I'm just holding it just like that, so they're on top of each other, and then once they're screwed back together, you're also going to want to thread this like through here, and then remember that this piece of plastic goes over top of this guy, so that way this doesn't come undone. Alright, I'll come back to you once this is back together. So we've got this all back together. Now we're going to go ahead and put in the blower motor resistor. You see how it's got tabs here, they'll fit in the holes down there. Like so. Screw there, screw there. We're going to route this guy around. I got to go look at the manual or back at the video to figure out exactly how this goes, but it's going to end up coming right about there. And then we won't actually latch any of those on until we get this back to the car, so we know which order they go in. Alright, I'll see you once we get that screwed in, because then we're going to put this guy back on top here. I've consulted the manual. We're going to be routing this guy right around front like this. There's a clip. It's like this. It ends up holding both the resistor wire and the motor wire. And when we orient these, we're going to put it so that this way the resistor goes first, and then the motor, and then the blend door actuator, I think that might be called, in that order. I'll get that done, and then I'm not going to show you the screw in process, but we're going to set this on top here. Screw, 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 and screw, and then there's one more clip here. That'll take care of our hardware pile, and then we'll go over and put this back in the car. Alright, I've got the 3 connections hooked up here. We can see the cage fans down there, and then this will be the actuator door, and then there's the other ones down here. Let's go ahead, have ourselves a moment of truth. Tons and tons of air. The other thing I wanted to check, I hit this door, or the recirculate button. Good. This guy's opened. This one and this one have closed. Both put out a ton of air. Cool. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. If I see anything else in the process of putting it back together, I will turn the camera back on and show you. The one thing I did want to note, it's kind of hard to see because it's plugged in. The manual shows that there was another plastic cover that goes over these gears right here. In the process of taking this apart, I've realized this was actually a junkyard unit that was put in before I bought the car. So if you have another cover for these gears, make sure you put it on. That'll help ensure that the gear won't pop out under high duress. One last thing, and you probably already did it, that is where the AC condenser, something AC is right there. And that's where a lot of crud from outside will accumulate. So just reach in there, pull out all the debris, or use a vacuum. Alright. Any questions? Let me know.